And Hezbollah's deputy chief has pledged that the Lebanese armed group is ready to meet an Israeli ground offensive despite the death of its leader and many senior commanders. In first addressing its killing of leader Hassan Nasrallah, Hezbollah's deputy chief Naim Qassem said the group is ready for any Israeli ground invasion and that it will select new head based on existing mechanism. We have details in this report.
Israel has not hit Hezbollah's military capabilities, said Naim Qassem on Monday, as he delivered a message of defiance in a public address. Despite the setbacks suffered during the bombardment of Lebanon in recent days, he insisted that the Iran-linked armed group will continue to fight. Mr. Qassem asserted that Hezbollah's operations have continued at the same pace and more since the killing of leader Hassan Nasrallah on Friday. He added that Hezbollah will install a new leadership soon via internal mechanisms. The choice of the new leader is clear, Mr. Qassem continued, without offering further details. Mr. Qassem continued by saying that Hezbollah will continue with its main goals despite Israel's aim of creating chaos with aggression and massacres against civilians in Lebanon. He also underlined the role of the U.S., which he called a partner with Israel, through unlimited military support, culturally, politically, and financially. Meanwhile, Israel has bombed the Kola area of Beirut in its first attack on the Lebanese capital beyond the southern suburbs, killing 3 members of the Popular Front for the Liberation of Palestine group. Lebanon's health ministry says Israeli attacks have killed over 105 people in the last 24 hours, as army jets continue their bombardment across the country. Israel has also continued in its attacks across the Gaza Strip, killing at least 28 people in the last day. The Israeli Air Force has targeted a power plant and a seaport in the Yemeni port cities of Hodeidah and Ras Isa, killing at least 4 people.
Global Affairs analyst Benga Onifade joins us live to discuss the ongoing conflict in the Middle East. Mr. Onifade, good to have you join us on World Now. You know, what started out as a conflict between Israel and Hamas has now escalated. As a matter of fact, the Middle East is on the brink. What's your take about the latest developments in the region?
Hey, good afternoon. I mean, I didn't think it was going to get this, get this intense, really, because we do have 2 factors. Iran is supporting the Houthis. The ports have been destroyed by Israel recently. They have long-range missiles, and of course, they're fiercely opposed to Israel. But we've got to understand that they did attack Israel first. But Israel has got the support from the United States. The United Kingdom, or should I say the EU generally anyway. So, and of course, we've got to understand first that, the Houthis, they fired ballistic missile first as Israel, and which of course, resulted into an escalation. One thing to point out right now is that, when, in 2006, if you're talking about the specific area, which is the Kola region, in Beirut was actually spared during that 34-day conflict. But this time around, nothing is actually left at all. And if you're looking at the death counts, we've actually surpassed the 2006 conflicts in a very short space of time. So I think things are actually getting a lot worse. And in fact, with United States President Joe Biden, reporting and telling Israel to actually caution and, of course, come to glass in such a way as to douse the whole flame. But at this minute, no one is willing to listen. I think of recent, Netanyahu, he made a speech in English to Iran as well, to addressing the Iranians, telling them, he stands with you. However, nowhere is beyond reach for Israel. So I don't think I think everything is at stake at the moment. All cards on table. He's actually preparing for ground invasion, for which, they've had a few of the Israeli troops just to have a look, just go on site, the ground, look at the tunnels, and of course mind map what the area is in order to make things a lot easier for them. It's cut off the heads, should we say, of Hezbollah. They've had, the entire supply chain infiltrated with explosives. I think we all saw the the pagers and the walkie-talkies events that happened. So Israel, and the intelligence arm, the intelligence arm of Israel, they are, the Mossad, they are hard working, and everyone is at work, all eyes on pulse, literally, for anything to go on. And of course, the aid which is supporting the war from the United States, it's not stopping anytime soon. They haven't turned it off at all. So Israel has got the necessary resources that they need in order for an offensive and to escalate things further.
And talking about the offensive, Hezbollah says it is ready to meet Israel's ground invasion. What could be the implication of this?
Well, that's a big deal, to be honest, really. I think Israel's actually done it the right way in war, in war terms, which is, let's just cut off the head first. And, you got the assistant now, which is going to take a while to get, to gain major trust. Hassan Nasrallah, he actually has the good trust of the people, good command, good control, and of course, but when we're talking about the new leader, it's going to take a while before, he's an assistant, really. They haven't got a new leader. It's going to take a while. I would have to say, I think the Hezbollah of 2006 is not the Hezbollah of now. They actually do have quite a good force, and they know their region very well. That's not where they want Israel to be. But of course, they are drawing Israel in. Israel could fall for this, but Israel is actually playing these war games very well. We're just going to cut off the head, cut off the chain of command without actively getting involved. Sending drones and again firing from a distance. That way, I think there's no pressure on Netanyahu. But the minute people start getting in, they start getting boots on ground, and then of course we start getting casualties again. Opinion is going to start rising. You start getting parents because there's no war without casualties on both sides. And then again, the pressure it could mount regardless of how many casualties on both sides. Pressure could start mounting on Netanyahu again to say, listen, we don't want this war. I don't know in terms of who's supporting this war at the moment. I think everyone is praying for peace. But again, he's actually getting drawn into Hezbollah war. I think when it comes to the ground, Hezbollah is a lot more organized, and I don't think Israeli president wants that at the moment.
All right, and well, Hezbollah might actually not have a leader at the moment, but then it plans to install one soon based on the group's internal mechanism. But already a name is being thrown up, someone who actually bears semblance to Nasrallah, both in physique, in look, and and it's even believed to be more hardline than Nasrallah. But as it stands now, the reality is that at least 1 million people have been displaced so far by recent fighting in the south of Lebanon. And of course, that's aside the tens of thousands who have been killed and who have been displaced in Gaza, in Yemen, and all around. What is the path to peace?
I mean, so just reiterating again, United States is begging for conversations, but, we've got to understand that Israel is not listening to United States. Do we think they want more war? I've got to say, I never thought it was going to get this deep. But, we've got Israel now in Gaza, Israel in Lebanon, and, recently just targeted Yemen. So I think, and they're not listening to all these calls for peace. He recently just made a speech at the United States, at the United Nations, where people walked away, in protest, really. So, in terms of the path for peace, I would still say overall, war is not the end of, war is not a way to tackle war. It's still got to be it's still got to be a conversation. People have to talk. But again, he's not listening to the United States. And in fact, recently, Biden has been calling for peace. But then just after that, he went on going to strike. I think there's been, we have an election year in America. And, I think recently UK made a protest by shutting down, telling down in terms of the supply. That's one way. The second way is you get lots of Americans saying, do you know what, not in my name. If you want war, you've got to pay for this war. We've just got out of a long-term bloody inflation, if you're going to call it that. So one way is, and I remember one of the presidential aspirants, former president, Donald Trump, he did say, turn off the tap, the resources, really. Yes, Israel have the right to protect themselves, But again, we're talking about over a quarter of this machinery's equipment, which is killing, is coming from America. So if these things are being turned off, then Israel will be forced to listen, because at the end of the day, what costs money, inflation overall, it might have a background effect again on Israel, and this thing might eventually be able to force them to ground. But I think before Israel is able to even listen at all, they want to make sure there's a big crucial damage, so that a message is actually being sent to these guys in such a way that, if the next time, if they're going to have any counter at all in future, it will take a while.
All right, Mr. Onifade, thank you so much for talking to us. Global Affairs Analyst Gbinga Onifade joined us from the UK.